is the first date of the UK tour, and it's definitely the one that I think we've been waiting for with the most anticipation. We're very local to this venue, and we've been coming here for God knows how many years to see shows. Some of my favourite shows I've come and watched here. So, very exciting, very exciting. I have a lot of friends and family down tonight, and I think we feel like we've sort of built ourselves up to a good place in the touring around Europe that we've done. It feels like the show's at a very good point at the moment.
Do you have a favourite venue in London to play at?
Well, this one is pretty good. And actually, we've seen some really good shows here as well. Most recently, was it last year? We saw My Morning Jacket play here, which was really excellent. One of the best shows I've seen. It is really nice. I think for a venue that's a bit bigger, I think we're all big fans of Brixton Academy, which is actually quite similar to this venue in many ways, just larger.
Yeah.
But it's there's lots of great venues in London, and we're not fussy really. We approached a lot of the album very, very differently to how we've worked before, how we've worked in the past. I think one of the main points of difference was that we kind of, we worked on the record for a very long time, all in all. From the beginning of the writing process to the end of recording must have been almost 2 years, and we kind of produced it from beginning to end almost by ourselves with some help from some really great engineers, and that was a new experience for us, and I think you can hear that on the record. I think a lot of the songs, when you start writing, when you start demoing songs, you often do things that are a bit out there because you can, and because it's quite inspiring, And I think on this record more than any other, a few of those ideas have made it through the whole process and have ended up on the record, and that happened much more on this record than it has on any of our others, which is really nice. I think it's really I really like that about this record.
We did have a little bit of a break after we finished touring Big TV. I think after the best part of 7 or 8 years of touring, I think we felt like we had probably deserved a sort of 6 months to take some time out, see what was going on back at home, and see if our friends remembered who we were. And then it did take a lot longer, as Harry just alluded to, as a process as a whole, because we were just conscious of the importance of this album. I think in terms of our career as a whole, it wouldn't be something that we would be able to rush. And I also think it was potentially the only time that we would get to take as long as we wanted to make a record, because we didn't have any pressure from anyone aside from ourselves to sort of crack the whip and speed along on it. And for that reason, it was an enjoyable process. And I think a little bit of time always helps. A little bit of time away, get a bit of context and a bit of just feel a little bit more normal when we started the process, and it gives you a little bit more energy. I think it's the same with touring. Like, not doing a live show for 2 and a bit years meant that by the time we started playing live again, it was almost like we had to relearn everything, had to sort of go from scratch and make everything work again. And it's good. It's like a big spring clean of everything that you've done, and it just means you sort of have to consider everything a bit more, which is no bad thing.
My favourite track's the last song, which is called "Don't Fall." I think as a song, it represents a lot of the things that we really aspired to and really inspired us when we were writing and recording, and it's a really great example of a lot of that. So I really like that song. I think we should learn to play it live. Actually, we should.
Certainly should. The other song that we need to learn to play live is my favourite, which is a song called "Swing." And we do have the intention of doing it. Whether we'll get round to it on this tour or not, I'm not sure. But if we don't, then we have it in our, we have it in our back pocket to learn a couple of new ones for the tours next year, which are already shaping up to be quite enjoyable affairs.
Time for a stroll down memory lane. Indie rock was a huge thing 10 years ago. What's happened to the music scene
since? I don't know, indie rock's still pretty big now. Like, I see indie bands coming up all the time, and especially with radio stations like BBC Radio 6, they play so much of that, and I think people are still really keen on it, so it hasn't really gone anywhere. I suppose it doesn't kind of rule the charts as much as it used to, perhaps, but then, music always changes, and I think these things move in ebbs and flows. It will probably come back and be as big as it ever was in 5 years' time. But and also, I don't know. I think that technology has really shaped music. I think it's really easy to make music in your bedroom now, and you know, a lot of people were probably quite inspired by indie rock, but just make music that's slightly different and make music with lots of different elements to it. So yeah, I think things change, you know. But as long as there's good music out there, which there always will be, then we're all right, aren't we?
I don't really feel nostalgic. I mean, there's not much in music that's sort of happening at the moment which makes me feel nostalgic. But I think there's a good variety out there. Like, the charts are a bit dull. They always tend to be a bit dull. But like Harry said, the charts don't really mean anything anymore, because they're just going to be dominated by massive pop artists who have the big streaming figures. But that's not to say that there's loads of great, you know, alternative artists who are still forging their own careers but doing it without the help of mainstream chart positions. Like, you know, you can sell out. You can be a band like, I don't know, like a band like Public Service Broadcasting done Brixton Academy, and it, you know, how many records have they sold? Probably less than the number of tickets you sell at Brixton Academy. Like, for bands and for artists like that, what is way more important is the live arena, and that's not, as far as I'm aware, that's not something that's like been hit by the death of album sales. I think people buy more music tickets than ever before, and it certainly feels that way on the tours that we're doing. Like, coming back after a while without gigging, we weren't sure whether anyone would be up for buying a White Lies gig ticket in 2016, but I reckon we've probably sold more on this tour than we have on any other tour. So it's nice to know that the space where we play live is still a really sort of important part of how people absorb music. It's what they want to see. It's like, yeah, they'll listen to something online, but these days to really engage with it, you have to go and see it live, I think. And that's why we put a lot of focus, a lot of energy and time and effort into putting together shows that we think are exciting or we think are worthy of people spending their hard-earned money to come and see.
I think as individuals, we all listen to a lot of music, and we listen to a huge variety of music. And you know, certainly when Charles and I are writing, we spend about 2 or 3 hours a day just listening. And I think you take a little bit from everything that you like, basically. You know, and I think you assimilate lots of other things as well, like TV programs or movies or whatever else. You know, so it's very hard to say, but I think you just need to expose yourself to as much as possible.
If we checked your music libraries right now, what would be your most played songs?
God. The very boring answer for me is actually I listen to these vocal warm-ups before every show. So actually I listen to them, like, I don't know, when we're on tour, like 200 times a year. And that's quite a lot. So that would probably be top of my list.
Sing along as well, don't you?
Sing along as well, yeah.
I've listened a few times to an album Harry recommended the other day by a guy called Scott Hirsch. What's it called? Blue Rider, something like that. Yeah, very, very good album. That's probably my most listened to over the last few weeks. Really good.
Oh, I listened a lot to that Savoy Motel record. That's really good. It's a really good album. Well worth a listen. Yeah.
Do you think your music has improved since the Best New Bands Awards of 2009? And if so, how has it changed?
In some ways, it has improved. I think we're better songwriters. I think we're better at recording, and we kind of know how it works. You know. Having said that, I think there's something that every band or most bands do on their first record that is very hard to recapture. I think there's a certain naivety in the way you approach everything, and an excitement and sort of nervous energy that's very difficult to emulate on any of your other records. And I think a lot of bands would say that. So there are some amazing moments on our first record, and I think it probably still is my favourite record of ours. But they always come about through massive errors, basically, and there's something really nice about that.
Now for some fun questions.
Okay.
What's your favourite night out in London?
My favourite night out, I love the Cow. I love the Cow pub on Westbourne Grove, which is not far from here, about 15 minutes. It's always a good night out in there. And I love just the whole vibe of it. I love drinking Guinness. And I love the barman. I go there a lot.
My best night out in London is just sort of anywhere after QPR have won a game. If QPR have won a game, then you have a good night out. It doesn't happen. Don't have many good nights out.
What is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you on tour?
God. Well, something actually quite funny did happen the other night when our lighting guy got so drunk that he got into bed with our tour manager by mistake and cuddled up with him. And our tour manager tried to kick him out and then gave up, so they actually ended up sleeping in the same, just spooned each other and slept in the bunk. Slept in bed together, which is, I think, pretty hilarious.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could change one law in England, what would it be?
I would legalise marijuana.
Buffalo Soldier.
I can't believe it hasn't been done already. It's absolutely outrageous. But actually, it's in the news today. Like, it's been in the news recently. A lot of MPs are saying the same thing because it's just nonsense for it to be illegal. Whether you enjoy smoking weed or not, I just think it's so much less harmful than drinking, for example. Not necessarily on an individual, but on society. It's just pointless, it being illegal, I think.
Does the band ever fall out?
Very rarely. I don't. We don't really fall out.
We
do
just
we?
passive aggressively talk to
just
each
sort of
other
store it up.
Store it up.
Yeah, and then one day one of us will just sort of got a rampage, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
But for now, I think we're all fine.
If you could emulate any band, who would it be?
Be fun to emulate White Lies in 2009 when we were at the peak of our success commercially, just so I could
enjoy it again.
Yeah, enjoy it again. Make some different decisions with the money that we earn. Probably invest in something else. No, I think there's no point trying to emulate other bands. Like we've had a pretty great knock so far. I think we surprised a lot of people as well in terms of sticking around for more than 5 years. So I don't feel like we need to emulate anyone else. It'd be fun to think some band somewhere is thinking, "Oh, I wish I could have White Lies' career," but I somehow doubt it.
If the music hadn't worked out, what do you think you'd be doing with yourselves now?
Fuck all, probably. I mean, I don't know. It's like I'd have gone to university. I'd have studied something. I know that I'd have studied history of art, and I don't know where that would have led me in life.
A cafe, probably.
Yeah, a cafe.
Yeah.
And I'd have probably been really happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're quite content.
Yeah.
You've already done Radio 1's big weekends, but if you could headline any festival, which would it be?
I don't think it should be one of the really big ones because it comes with too much pressure and hype. And
I was listening to
you get rinsed, don't you?
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was someone interviewing Matt Berry, and Matt Berry said that he was being interviewed during the summer, but they just released it now. And Matt Berry said he played this Druid festival, headline a Druid festival where you have to the headline act has to set a light to a wicker man. Yeah. And I think that sounds amazing. Yeah, you have to get hooded up and walk through a field to a big effigy and burn it, and then you get to play.
Yeah, definitely that.
That sounds really great. So I'd like to do that one.
Thanks for speaking to the upcoming boys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much
with the gig tonight.
Cheers. Thank you.